Small talk. I'm always intrigued by what do other people, when they're out in public, what do they stand and talk to others about? It's something I want to know. It literally makes me want to take a small handheld recorder and record others. Not like being under surveillance, but you get my drift. When you're out in public, small talk. What do you discuss with others? Introducing others to your world. What do you discuss? Or what do they discuss? What keeps the conversation going? What keeps the conversation moving? What keeps it flying here and there? Who keeps the floor open? Is there an even exchange when it comes to small talk? Or does one overtake the conversation? All this type of stuff I'm like in questioning of. And I actually want to know. I would love to hear someone answer me back on this. Small talk. Because see, when you stand with others in public, there's so many different things you can just stand and discuss. Because as you're on the outside, the walls of your house, or as you're on the outside of any walls of any building, which is enclosed, the world is all around you. The world moves around you constantly. The air swirls around you. The environment envelopes you. So you get to hear, and you get to see, and you get to smell, and depending on who's in front of you, you get to touch them, not physically, but with your senses. You become in tune with their energy, as well as with the energy around you, surrounding you. All is played out in surround sound. All becomes bigger and wider, and it engulfs you fully. Sometimes without even your awareness. And yet oftentimes with keen awareness. All plays on you subconsciously as well as on an unconscious level. And yet small talk being the focus. So, in me saying this, when you're standing discussing things with others, say a random topic, say a bird flies past. What are you thinking of? Are you thinking of the next thing to string along your conversation to keep the conversation going and moving? I ask this because there's many people all across the globe which are introverts. They'll start something and then they'll have a hard time finishing in the area of communication. They might speak of something lightly and slowly, and yet they don't know what else to say, and so they'll stop. And yet with extroverts, they have a tendency to keep going and going and going, because that's how their mind moves. They perceive the world externally, as the introvert actually takes in the world internally. They perceive all from within. And so I've heard extroverts, because me being an introvert, I had extrovert tendencies or whatnot. Being an INTJ, I take some stuff in externally as well. But I've heard extroverts sometimes having difficulty with conversation and keeping conversation going. And that's because they're taking so much in all at once. To stand and take so much in from your environment has to sometimes be overwhelming, or to feel as if you're being bombarded. So that's why I question when it comes to others and them keeping a consistency in relation to communication out in public. Now, when I'm in front of someone and I stand talking with them, I I try to listen and hear them first without me constantly making the first move. Got what I'm saying? I try to give them the floor so that I can hear them. And with these sunglasses on, I have a tendency, as I'm listening to them, I have a tendency to look away. I'm zoning here and there so that I can properly hear them. Because if I'm keeping my eyes on them, I can't really stay in tune to what they're delivering to me on a communication level. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a habit or what it is, but I don't maintain eye contact when I'm communicating with others and when they're speaking to me. So for them to be heard, I have to scan the environment. And I'm actually not paying attention to the environment. It's almost like I'm trying to adjust my hearing. Weird, isn't it? So the next time you see someone and they're listening to what you're saying, but they're looking everywhere, don't think that they're not listening to you. That could just be their way of taking information in. Now, people have questioned if I was actually autistic, because autistic people, they don't, when they're listening, they don't, even when they're talking to you, a lot of times they don't look at you. And that's because they're trying to keep their attention on what they're saying. Like right now, as I'm looking at this camera, the shades actually are covering the fact that my eyes are not consistently on the camera. I'm looking other places, and yet sometimes my head is not moving, although my eyes are, because I'm trying to gather my thoughts so I can deliver them to you. It's the same with my hearing. So someone starts a conversation with me, right? And they allow me to take the floor. As soon as I start speaking, I could be looking at the floor. I could be looking at the concrete. That's what, if we're outside, I could be looking at the concrete. I could be looking at the trees. I can be looking at a car driving by. And all this, for some unknown reason, the movement keeps me in tune. But many people, that would actually change the direction of their conversation. They might start talking about something else or lose their train of thought. But with me, I don't. But as I was saying, small talk, I also use that as well. If I'm talking and say I'm in tune with my own thoughts and a car rolls past or something like that, I'll hold on to that. When it's time for the next person to start speaking and they get done and say they get quiet and there's really nothing that we both can think of to discuss, I might mention a particular car, not that same exact car, but something else. It could be a Cadillac. It could be a fashionable Cadillac that has nice rims or whatever. Whatever, I can pick anything in any environment and start actually discussing that to carry on a conversation. If I feel that, say, I'm uncomfortable, or if the other person is uncomfortable and we can't think of what else to discuss, and yet we feel that the conversation is not over, there's all type of ways to continue small talk. All it takes thinking creatively. It really does. Best way is to ask people about themselves. Like, don't go overboard like you're doing investigation like the police or something like that. But yeah, small talk makes the world go round. So I think that's basically it. But those are my thoughts on small talk. And if you notice my conversation, it drifts. It don't always go in one direction, and I like that. But shows a very short attention span. Some people don't like that form of communication, but once again, it makes you see things from different perspectives and not just straight and narrow. So that's basically it. The small talk.